Hi everyone, welcome along to the LTL Mandarin School YouTube channel. My name is Max and I work in the marketing team here at LTL Mandarin School. Today the purpose of the video is to introduce to you and review a Chinese language learning app which is called Do Chinese. Do in Chinese literally means read, so the app quite literally is Read Chinese, and that pretty much entails what the app is all about. We've written a blog about Do Chinese on our website, which you can find in the description below. Now, first, before we go into Do Chinese itself and I show you my computer screen and the app itself, I want to ask, do you know about Do Chinese? So if you use it and you've downloaded it, in the comments below, just type yes. If you don't know about it, haven't heard of it, or don't use it, comment no. It would be super useful for us to know who uses it, who doesn't. So, as we already stated, Do Chinese is all about improving your reading and your Chinese character recognition. So if it's speaking, you want to improve or anything like that, this isn't the app for you. Just a disclaimer so you know straight away. It's all about reading, uses flashcards and improves your character knowledge in Chinese. I must admit, Do Chinese is one of my favourite apps for learning Chinese. I've been using it for about 2 years now, 2+ years. And I found it's really helped my reading. It's been super useful for someone like me who, when in Beijing, I commute to work, so I can just open it up for 10-15 minutes and use the app quickly and conveniently. It's full of lots of little short stories. It has different levels, so you've got beginner all the way up to master level. You've got different categories, which we're going to go through in the next part of the video shortly, where you can focus on everyday life, in the workplace, short fictional stories, lots of stuff like that. So you can also choose the sort of topic you like to focus on. And another cool feature about Do Chinese, which we're also going to show you, is the ability to save words and turn them into flashcards. So when you're reading part of an article and there's a word that you maybe haven't seen before, you want to save and come back to, you just tap the word, save it, and it creates a list or a deck of flashcards for you, which you can then review after. Really useful for helping you learn new words and memorize them as you go. So without further ado, let's dive in. So what we're going to do Chinese is actually commonly used on the phone. So you'll see shortly they have links to download on Android and on your Apple iPhone. And I used to use it mainly on my iPhone, but now I don't commute so often. It's much better for me personally, and I find generally to use the desktop version. Now, we mentioned this with another app we reviewed before called Hack Chinese. There should be a link to the Hack Chinese video above somewhere, and I recommend the same for Do Chinese, so actually using the desktop version. And because it's bigger and we can see more, I'm going to introduce you Do Chinese on the desktop so we can focus on a bigger screen and see more. So let's go and dive in. Okay, so welcome to the Do Chinese website. So the URL which will pop up on the screen is dochinese.net. Now, predominantly Do Chinese is used on the phone. You can see here they encourage you to download it on Apple and also Android, but we're going to actually show you on the desktop, because as I've found with other apps, as we've reviewed apps like Hack Chinese, you can actually access more on desktop, and I just find that studying on desktop, it gives you more space, there's more features that you can access. Of course there's negatives to it. When you're on the move, you have no choice but choose your phone, but I like to believe that if you have the choice, desktop is actually better. So we're going to review this on the desktop so you can actually see more of what Do Chinese is all about. So firstly, we just need to log in. So I'm just going to log in here to my account, and then I'll get taken to the dashboard here. So essentially, Do Chinese is very simple. It's split into lessons, which are divided into 6 levels, and then you also get different categories as well. So for example, here you have courses. You then have the new lessons that they've recently uploaded, short stories, very easy, everyday life, language, funny stories, which I find quite good for slang, work for working environment, and then more down here, which you can see. So they have categories that you can filter by, and also you can filter by level. So what we'll do, we'll just try a few of these out and just see what we can find. So let's filter by newbie and elementary. So we have the beginner lessons here, and we'll go down to let's say everyday life, something that all of us might find useful. So do you have a charger? Which is of course a question that many of us have to ask, and it's useful to learn in Chinese. So do you have a charger? So the lesson is here. So it's quite short and snappy. You can probably get it done relatively quickly, but of course as a beginner it might take a bit longer. So I'll just show you some of the features here. So we have the class, the lesson name, and then just a quick introduction, and then the story here. So we have the names. We have Ben and Xiao Yu, which is little you. You can see as I hover over each one, the word meaning and the Chinese and the pinyin show above them, which is great. So for example, if we have a new word that we want to discover here, so for example, yo, we can just hover over it and we can see above the meaning is showing. So yo, which means to have or there is. It's actually one of the most common Chinese characters there is. And then this one here, for example, so we can see that they've grouped Chong Dian Qi, which grouped together means battery charger. So this sentence literally means you have battery charger question, which of course translates to do you have a battery charger? Now what we can also do is make a few toggles here. So down the bottom right you'll see there's some options here. So HSK you can actually turn on and off, and you can see what that does is that changes the underlines, the colours. So what it does cleverly is it tells you which HSK each of them belong to, and they're colour coded. So you can see if a word is HSK 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. So they're colour coded. I'm actually colourblind. I'm not going to be able to tell you how they work, but you'll figure those out as you go along. And if the HSK is something that you want to study for, it's useful to keep that on. It also adds a bit of colour to the page as well. If it's not underlined, just means it's not in the HSK curriculum. So here you also have characters, and you can change by traditional and simplified, which actually on the desktop is really useful because you can actually see straight away, if I flick between them, the characters that are the same and the ones that are different. So for example, you can see that the top left character here, Ni, if I switch between traditional and simplified, it's actually the same. So it's no different. And you can see that Yo is almost exactly the same, just a very small flick on the bottom left there. But for example, the particle ma, so this one here, is quite a bit different. So I find this really useful in discovering differences between traditional and simplified, and it shows you that some things are the same, some things are marginally different, and some things like this word here, bao, is significantly different. You wouldn't be able to guess that one really. Whereas some of them, like Dian, although it's different, you can see that the bottom half of the traditional version is the same. So this is very cool if you're studying traditional Chinese or just want to get an idea on how they both appear. So you can change that, and you can also decide to remove the pinyin. So if you want to test yourself a bit without the pinyin, you can remove that there. Of course, if you're at a beginner level, we recommend that you use the pinyin. If you're above HSK 3, for example, when pinyin isn't included in the HSK exams, perhaps you should try and switch it off and see how you get on. And then what you can also do is start lesson, and this means that someone will start narrating it for you. So we'll just play it now and have a listen.
你有充电器吗？
我手机快没电了，你有充电器吗？
有，但是这里没有插座啊。
So we'll just stop that there. So you can also hear that they actually have different native speaking voices. So they have male and female to play along with the character names. So we have Ben here, who's obviously male, and little Yu, Xiao Yu, is a female name. So that's also quite good because you can actually hear the story unfold and it doesn't become too repetitive. And when you're playing it, you can also change the speed. So here you can see 1.5, 0.5 and 1. So for example, now if I play at 0.5,
这可怎么办？我在等丽丽的电话呢。
我有充电宝，可以用充电宝充电。
So that's also a very useful feature from Do Chinese, where you can actually change the speed and test yourself, really. So of course, by going up to 1.5, it's much faster. But if you just want to actually absorb the words and understand it as it goes along, I would recommend using 0.5. I tend to do this when I first start a lesson, and then maybe as you study it over and over, you will become more familiar with it and you can speed it up. So that's generally what a lesson is like. So we'll go back. What you can also do, by the way, is save your lesson, and if you finished it, so let's just say we finished this one, we can mark it as complete, and on the desktop it shows us that it's complete. So if we go down there, you can see it's ticked, so we know we've studied it and we can mark it off. There are more, so you can of course see more. So if we want to see more of the elementary newbie lessons, we can find them all here. So some very useful ones there. So what we can also do, I'll show you some of the more advanced ones. So you have Master and Advanced. You could probably compare these to HSK. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as a rough guide. But it's not always the case because they tend to have mixed language. So for example, let's go to signing up for a gym. So again, this is probably something that a lot of us will do if we come to live in China. It's something I did, and this is more advanced. So you can see again, the story is much longer. You have some more advanced vocabulary in that, but it's super useful to discover. But the feature I like the most, I want to show you, if there's a word that we don't know, so for example, cheetah here, you can actually hover and save it to your flashcards, which we're going to come to in a second. You might see towards the top. So in fact, I've already saved that word, so no problem. But at the top here, you can see flashcards, which we're going to come to in a second. And this is where Do Chinese becomes very, very useful, because you can actually save the words that you learn and then go over and go to these flashcards. So let's try and save another one, Xi'an. So we're going to save that, and it's been saved to your flashcards. So the lesson, of course, whether you're at early or later stages, they're all the same in terms of the functions, so the HSK, the speed, the characters, etc. So now we'll move on to flashcards, and this is something that actually the phone version doesn't have. It shows you your saved words as you've gone along, so you can see obviously that your list should grow. So I'm on about 600 words now, 613 in fact, and I can see my whole word list of saved words right here. Now again, you can toggle it, so you can remove the pinyin, you can remove the Hanzi and just have the pinyin, and you can also remove the English, and it showed you the date that you actually saved it as well. And then you can have more details for each word here, which is particularly useful, which we're also going to come to in a second. So let's go back to flashcards, and what we can do, we can start a word review. So it's basically lining them up in order of which ones you need to review, and as you can see, I've not used it for a little bit of time, so I have quite a number of words to review. So let's start now. So it's basically a flashcard / Tinder sort of system here. So you have the word here, so this is Fada, I believe, which should mean developed or developed country. So we're going to just tap here, and we can see indeed that the word is Fada. I think I got the tone wrong there. So developed or flourishing to develop, and you can actually show an example sentence which is from one of the Do Chinese lessons itself, which is super useful. But the feature that I really like is the word info here, because you can go in, so you can turn the card around. Firstly, it gives you the simplified and traditional, which I've not seen on the phone version before. It then tells you the HSK level, but then it also gives you all these useful things. So the sentence here in pinyin and in English, so relatively advanced Chinese here. And it also breaks down the characters for you. So fa on its own means to send out or to show or develop, and then da, which means to attain or reach. That's what they mean separately, but together it means developed. If you don't need it anymore, you can delete it, but I find this very, very useful. So we'll just flip it back and we'll say that we got it, so we understand it, and it will swipe it right. So then we have our next word here, which is 受访者, which is to be a participant in a survey. Let's say I forgot that, so I will click forgot and it will swipe it left. And so on. So it's super simple. 精彩, which means marvellous or wonderful. Let's say I want to discover more about it, so it tells me that it's HSK4. The traditional and simplified are exactly the same. And then we have all the other information here. So very, very useful. Let's say I've got it. And then we keep going. And you can see the word bar at the top slowly decreases. I've got a lot of words to go through. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to go kind of back to the home screen here. And that's how you use Do Chinese. It's very similar on the phone as well. So you can do all the things that you can do here. I've not seen the traditional element on the phone yet. Perhaps it's there in the settings and I haven't changed it yet. But I just find that on the screen you kind of have more access to things and it's just easier to study. So that is Do Chinese for desktop, one of my favourite apps. In fact, for reading small articles, probably my favourite app. I generally use it on the phone because I use it on the go when I'm commuting to work, for example, or have 10 spare minutes and I'm out and about. But when you have chance, I would recommend using it on the desktop as well. Great app for reading and improving your characters and flashcards as well. There we have it. That is Do Chinese in a nutshell. I hope that was useful for you. So we tried to run through everything we can in as quick and compact as time as possible, so we're not going on for too long and wasting your time. So what do you think about Do Chinese? Do you think it would be useful for you? Do you think you'd like to download it? What would you like to perhaps see improved? Again, drop us a comment below. Tell us what you like about it. I'm actually in contact with someone at Do Chinese, so we can pass all the feedback that you've got onto them. So perhaps what you'd like to be improved, what you'd like to see done better, what you like about the app. Personally, I found it a super useful tool for improving my Chinese from an intermediate to a more advanced level. It's been one of my favourite apps to use, and I hope that came across in the video here. So that's it. We've got plenty of other videos as well reviewing apps. We've reviewed HSK Online. We've done language learning for Netflix, which is a great way to learn Chinese whilst watching Netflix. We've done Hack Chinese. So there are plenty of other app reviews, and all of them, along with many, many more, trust me, there's many, all on our website. So check out in the description, there should be links to them all below. All the marketing team, we download these apps, we play with them, we share them. So we do lots of stuff with them, and then we write reviews about them. Why? For you, so you know which apps are the best ones to download, because let's face it, there's so many out there and we don't want to be wasting time downloading hundreds of apps and then deleting them. We want to know straight away. So hopefully this video and all of those helps. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to our channel if you like what you saw, like the video. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.